The wind howled through the desolate landscape as the sun set behind the jagged peaks, casting an eerie crimson glow over the land. Thomas, a renowned occultist and historian, had always been fascinated by the concept of hell. He spent years researching ancient texts and obscure legends, seeking to uncover the truth behind the forbidden realm. His obsession led him to discover a cryptic ritual rumored to open a gateway to hell itself. As the stars emerged in the ink-black sky, Thomas stood before a decrepit altar in a forgotten cave, surrounded by flickering candles and arcane symbols etched into the stone floor. He recited incantations from a tome he'd unearthed in a long-abandoned monastery, his voice resonating with an unsettling energy. The air grew heavy, and an otherworldly chill enveloped him. A sense of unease crept over Thomas, but his determination was unwavering. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the ground, casting grotesque shadows on the cave walls. The air crackled with malevolent energy, and a voice emerged from the abyss, whispering promises of unimaginable knowledge and power. Thomas hesitated for a moment, his heart pounding, but the allure of his lifelong quest was too potent to resist. With a final incantation, the ground trembled, and a gaping maw opened before him, a portal to hell. The portal exuded a nauseating stench as Thomas stepped through, his surroundings transforming into a nightmarish panorama. The ground was a writhing mass of tormented souls, and the sky above was a swirling vortex of darkness and fire. Demonic figures prowled the landscape, their eyes burning with malice as they cast menacing glances at the newcomer. As Thomas ventured deeper into this hellscape, he encountered grotesque landscapes that defied all reason. Rivers of molten lava flowed through fields of jagged obsidian, emitting agonizing screams that echoed through the air. The air itself seemed to whisper horrors, and the ground wriggled beneath his feet as if the very land were alive with suffering. Days turned into an unending night, and Thomas's sanity began to fray. Haunting visions of his past transgressions tormented him, a relentless barrage of guilt and remorse. The veil between reality and nightmare was thinning, and the line between self and demon became blurred. Shadows whispered secrets in his ears, promising to release him from his pain if he surrendered to the darkness. Among the twisted labyrinthine passages of hell, Thomas stumbled upon a decaying library, a place of forbidden knowledge guarded by grotesque, horned sentinels. The tomes contained records of forgotten atrocities, unholy rituals, and secrets that would unravel the fabric of the mortal world. In his desperate thirst for answers, Thomas delved into these texts, his mind unraveling further with each revelation. He learned that the gateway he had opened was not just a portal, it was a two-way conduit. The malevolent forces he had unleashed sought entry into the mortal realm, a world ripe for corruption. Thomas realized the true price of his curiosity. The souls of the living, bound to his pact with the infernal powers. The suffering he witnessed in hell was now mirrored in the mortal realm, as his once beloved city crumbled under the weight of demonic influence. Haunted by the consequences of his actions, Thomas resolved to close the portal and undo the havoc he had wrought. Armed with newfound knowledge, he ventured deeper into the abyss, seeking the heart of hell where the portal's power emanated. Along the way, he encountered souls of the damned, those who had been ensnared by his actions, and their tortured wails served as a constant reminder of his sins. As he neared the source of the portal's power, Thomas confronted a colossal, shadowy entity, the embodiment of his folly and guilt. The creature's voice reverberated through his mind, recounting his darkest thoughts and deeds. With a surge of determination, Thomas faced the entity head-on, armed with the realization that he alone had the power to sever the infernal connection. In a final battle of wills, Thomas grappled with the shadowy entity, forcing it to confront its own malevolence. The very foundations of hell trembled as their struggle reverberated through the tortured landscape. Memories of his life, both noble and wretched, flashed before him, and he embraced the weight of his actions. With a triumphant cry, Thomas channeled the remnants of his humanity and infused the entity with remorse. As the shadowy presence faltered, the portal's energy waned and the infernal gateway began to collapse. With a final surge of determination, Thomas sealed the portal, sacrificing his own existence to mend the rift between realms. The world above trembled as the gateway closed, and a shudder of relief echoed through the city. The demonic influence receded, but scars remained, the haunted whispers of a horror that had briefly walked among mortals. Thomas's name was forever etched in history as a cautionary tale of curiosity and consequence. And as the years passed, the legend of Thomas and his descent into damnation persisted, a chilling reminder that some knowledge is best left undiscovered, some doors left unopened. For the boundaries between worlds are fragile, and the price of unraveling the unknown may be one's very soul. On a dark and stormy night, Mike had a plan to shoot a video for his YouTube channel. However, the stormy weather had him on edge. The darkness always had a way of making him uneasy, and tonight was no exception. Yet, knowing that his followers were eagerly anticipating his content, he mustered the courage to proceed. Positioning his camera and hitting record, strange noises outside caught Mike's attention. At first, he dismissed them as mere gusts of wind, but the sounds persisted. They resembled footsteps steadily approaching. Suppressing his unease, he brushed it off as his imagination running wild. But then, a soft, hesitant knock echoed through the room, sending a shiver down his spine. Curiosity mingled with trepidation as Mike cautiously cracked open the door. To his surprise, there was no one there. Perhaps it was a prank, he thought. But those footsteps returned, growing louder and more urgent. Shaking off the growing fear, Mike returned to his camera, attempting to maintain his composure. The footsteps grew frenetic, as if someone were racing towards him. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness as the power failed. A blood-curdling scream pierced the air, followed by an eerie silence. With trembling hands, Mike groped for his flashlight and navigated his way through the obscurity. As he moved down the corridor, he became aware of heavy breathing behind him. Whipping around, the erratic beam of his flashlight illuminated a shadowy figure. A woman, her face contorted in a twisted expression of agony and fury. Instinct urged him to flee, but terror rooted him in place. His feet felt as if they were encased in cement. Glancing back, Mike saw the woman closing in, her eyes aflame with a ravenous hunger fixed on him. Desperation gripped him. Escape was imperative, yet his body remained paralyzed by fear. The woman's proximity grew, and a chilling realization took hold. She was not an apparition of his imagination. She was corporeal, and she was hunting him. His cries for help echoed fruitlessly through the empty air. Utterly alone, he was ensnared in a nightmare with no exit. As her hand reached out, his heart pounded in his throat. This was no tale. It was his horrifying reality. As the woman's hand neared, Mike squeezed his eyes shut, bracing for impact. Yet the tempest outside intensified, and the wind howled mercilessly. When he dared to open his eyes, the woman had vanished. The room was empty, save for him and his camera. A sigh of relief escaped him, as he realized it had all been a dream. Reviewing the footage, there was nothing. A void where the horrors had unfolded. No shadowy figure, no screams, no steps. It was as if the nightmare had never occurred. Shaking his head, he tried to dispel the lingering unease. The video had to be finished, but an insidious sensation of being observed persisted. As he packed his camera, footsteps resonated again, now emanating from the hallway. Frozen in uncertainty, he recalled the age-old advice. Confronting fears head-on was often the most effective approach. Summoning courage, Mike turned to face the corridor. Before him stood the woman from his dream, but she was different this time. Her countenance no longer exuded anguish and rage. Instead, she gazed at him with a mournful longing, as though she had something to convey. With a mixture of apprehension and curiosity, he approached. Yet, as he drew near, she dissolved into thin air, leaving behind only a faint trace of lavender and an eerie silence. Shivers ran down Mike's spine as he contemplated the inexplicable events of that night. Even though he had confronted his fears, unanswered questions lingered. On his way home, the truth crystallized. The most unsettling things in life aren't those that go bump in the night. Rather, the enigmatic occurrences that linger, haunting thoughts and memories long after the darkness has receded.